The Trump administration is working on a ban of flavored electronic cigarettes. Now, this all comes as doctors work to try and figure out what it is about the devices that has led to at least 6 deaths and hundreds of reported illnesses, including some here in Georgia. But that ban will take some time to put in place as young people continue to be at risk.
Vaping crisis. Federal health officials have reported an outbreak of mysterious illnesses connected to the popular electronic cigarettes. The devices heat a liquid that sometimes contains the addictive drug nicotine that then produces an aerosol or mist of small particles into the air. The Trump administration announced plans to ban the sale of non-tobacco flavored e-cigs like bubblegum or strawberry amid the growing reports of sicknesses and death, with the president promising strong rules and regulations to curb teen usage. The administration plans to remove flavored e-cigs from the market until companies can apply for and receive approval from the Food and Drug Administration. But the changes could take weeks, and once they're in place, there will be a 30-day waiting period, so it could be months before we see the products removed. The American Vaping Association has called the plan draconian, saying it would lead people back to smoking and destroy thousands of small businesses. But the concern remains about young users. The Truth Initiative says most of them don't know what's in the products they're vaping, citing a study that found nearly 99% of all e-cig products sold in convenience stores and supermarkets contain nicotine. But in a survey, more than 60% of teens incorrectly said their vape pods were just flavoring. Reports also show most teens start vaping because of the flavors, and the devices make them more likely to begin smoking in other forms like traditional cigarettes or hookahs. So what do you do if your child is already hooked on vaping? The Truth Initiative recommends exercise, distractions during cravings, temptation-free environments, and celebrating accomplishments.
We reached out to Governor Kemp's office to see if he planned to take any action about e-cigarettes here in Georgia. A spokesman told us that they are still gathering facts and wouldn't make any public comment right now. Now, we are getting your take on the possible flavored e-cigarette ban in our new series on YouTube, Alive at 5. That's coming up for you in about 15 minutes.